Welcome back. We've got Ramatu Aliyu, the Minister of State for FCT, joining us on our studios in Abuja. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, we already see in that report that some palliatives being distributed for residents of FCT. Could you tell us, I mean, how is this playing itself out? How are you managing and ensuring that you get to the people who need it most?
Good morning, viewers, and thank you very much for this question. The Federal Capital Territory Palliative Committee, and having me as the chair, was able to come up with an organogram. And this organogram actually cuts across all facets of life. The representatives that must ensure that justice is done to this distribution. Justice is also done during the investigation and the quality of goods that arrive at our stores. Also, men from our security force, ranging from the DSS to the Nigerian Police Force, are also there to ensure that the goods arrive and are not vandalized. So there is a composition that in every ward, in every unit, in every area council, these goods are protected by the same citizens that are supposed to be served. But you cannot engage everybody at the same time. That we are mindful of. But each organization came up with their own representatives that are also cutting across all, cut across all the wards and units. And so far we have done Abaji Area Council, we have done Kuje Area Council, we have done Kwali Area Council. We lastly did that of the FCT2, that is the Abuja South Federal Constituency, ended with Gwagwalada Area Council. And we commenced the FCT1, that is the Buari Area Council. Hopefully that we were supposed to have taken AMAC, that is the municipal today. But so far, so good. The distribution has been okay. The targeted people from our responses officially are getting served. The old, the vulnerable, the people living with disability, the widows, and families that we consider that have been decided by their own representatives and groups that were cleared to be the beneficiaries of these goods. They have their own standards, and they also must recognize their people, ranging from the royal fathers now to recognize the citizens, the indigents. And then you have the civil society organization to recognize also non-indigents and all others that are within. Also, you have the religious groups, representative of Khan and Islam. So with this, you have the students and so many other groups. I'm so confident that if indeed transparency comes to play, that nothing will get wrong. But then, not because we are infallible though. To have a very huge goods consignment of about 600,000 bags at the same time, you are running against time to meet and not allow your people, faithfuls in you, to linger or wait in hunger. Then you have this much goods. You might not be able to go through all the bags, especially where the COVID-19 isn't also a thing that any nation would have prepared for, especially Nigeria. We've never experienced this. But quickly, we also relied on our reliable suppliers and companies that produce. FCT, unfortunately, does not make rice. But then, I think this pandemic also could be an eye-opener that definitely this will lead us to also back to agriculture with every strength to ensure that we do this. But for now, yes, every area council has been served, and each ward is served 25,000, each area council is served 25,000 bags of rice and 25,000 bags of condiments. And then at the ward level, each one will receive about 2,500 a minimum of rice, bags of rice, and 2,500 minimum of the bags of condiment. And these we intend, for instance, you say, okay, you are targeting the minimum of 5 per household. If you have 5 per household and you are supplying 100,000 per area council, That will give you about 500,000 poor and vulnerable people you are targeting, at. So with this, I think it will go a long way. Averagely, that means we are targeting about 3 million people in the Federal Capital Territory that officially has about 6.3 million captured in data. And then we have approximately about another 3 million uncaptured. That is by estimate, and with this exercise, hopefully, we will be able to get updated, our data's updated. So far, so good. We've been on top of our game, and I'm saying a very big thank you also to residents, indigents that have cooperated so far in all the 4 area councils that were served to ensure hitch-free distribution of these palliatives, for we couldn't have done it alone. And then also with this, I'm urging the remaining 2 area councils. We did Bari yesterday, yes, not without a few complaints. That's the first we were able to see, the first. In fact, I saw a certain video of 1 bag of palliative of rice. But I looked at it again and, well, I will not be on the defensive. I do not know that, but I know we made it very clear that if there is any problem, they should call the Berkete family, they should upload their phone numbers, they should give us their house numbers, they should give us their ward numbers, and then their unit number. Each unit and each polling unit or each ward also have representatives across who will immediately call the set of people together. Though unfortunately in Dutse Alaji, where I happen to see some of these complaints again, they didn't even allow themselves to be served. But then we will get to that. But then I urge them to be patient again. Right. Being a woman and a mother, I know the pain of living in hunger. I know the pain of your children crying without food. And I know what it means to serve good food. Definitely, I will not watch to see bad food served.
Well, it's good to know that you have said that for those who have not gotten or been served, there's still that window for them to be served, in the coming days as soon as you get the figures. But yes, FCT is in a month of lockdown. I mean, it marks a month today since the president announced the first 2 weeks and then the extension by another 2 weeks. So it begs the question, just in case this drags on for, perhaps a few more weeks, is this going to be repeated? Is this a one-off thing?
Absolutely. Having been a mother and then knowing what a nation inflicted with a disease is, like the deadly COVID-19 pandemic all over the world that is ravaging, we have seen developed nations prepare, and thus we also did in the Federal Capital Territory. And in our kitty, we have what we serve our 600,000 households, families in this pandemic period. We stored that, and besides that, we now started with 25,000, as I said. Many would have been wondering why 25,000 when we said 100,000. That means we broke it into 4 components. That means we'll be able to serve the same goods at the same proportion for 4 times. That means even if we are doing it weekly, we will be revisiting again and again, and we are sure what we are serving will last that long for family that will also learn to manage and make good budget, even if they were going to the market. That
Honorable Minister, is that to say that there's a possibility
again.
Pardon me, just a button. Is that to say that there's a possibility that this lockdown may be extended for maybe another week or 2 weeks? Is that what you're hearing?
No nation prays for that. And I will not jump the gun. And I will not speak for Mr. President. But for what we have seen in other developed climes, lockdown also happens to be one of the best ways out of the, pandemic ravaging and spreading. So to curb this spread and reduce it to the barest minimum, if it is possible, the lockdown is better. But so many parameters also have to, come to play here. And that is why it's a decision of the leadership. But I advocate also, should we have a need to come out at all, then we'll do that wearing our masks and obeying the social distancing and all other, stipulated instructions as by the NCDC to keep safe. But then we'll wait for the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as law-abiding citizens, to address us what to do. But whatever it is that happens, we are also mindful that even when the lockdown is off, some people have not been running any business in this last month. We will still serve what is due to them. But that's if only those area councils to be served for that day will be shut to be able to reach them. And hopefully, we know so far Abuja residents and indigents have been patient, and they've exhibited that. I have seen the best play from Nigerians, and to this I appreciate, and we all appreciate them.
Now, well, we've seen the cases in the FCT climb from 1 just on March 20th to 141 today. And we're going to talk about the response in the health area. I mean, we've talked about the palliatives, and there have been reports time and again of certain individuals who have said, well, we don't want to go to isolation centers that is for the public. We want there to be some form of provision for us. And I'm sure there are a lot of these issues of enforcement of people gathering in public. We hear that some religious leaders were taken to court. So these challenges, how are you managing to move around them?
Well, also, I am working with a man of honor and integrity, my colleague, the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, who is also on top of his own game. And here, we all sat and made provision also for special isolation centers, ranging from government, owned property by the FCT, that we give, that we afford such class of people a privacy. At the same time, we even have those who opt, selected hotels that are identified and are fumigated and are set for that are working in sync with the NCDC and the Federal Capital Territory Authority. And then they will now observe their own isolation there until their tests are run. And when the results are out, then they get moved to, if positive, they get moved to treatment center. But if not, then they are allowed to go home in order not to risk their families. We have the Women Development Center, which happens also to be a government facility. That alone has about 100 capacity hall that is well equipped with beds and everything required for the isolation. There also we have another 100 suites that we also, 60 suits that we also serve for this purpose. And in this place is also a catering service. They serve them all this as required while they observe the isolation. Besides that, also is a provision that the Honorable Minister ensured and supervised that was made. The Asokoro General Hospital was also taken over, and we have such centers in there to serve this purpose. Besides that, also at the FCT metro station is also another very big center to getting equipped to house about 300 such cases that will be transferred if peradventure we run into that kind of a situation, God forbid. Also, we have now the Primus Hospital in Karo, which is also getting fixed by an assistance from the Guarantee Trust Bank, and expediently they are getting that done. Peradventure things go, or the population escalate of the, infected people will also be set over there with almost another 300 set. So I think with this, and also with a sample collection center behind the international conference to serve, the people that are requiring. You will first of all be clerked through the telephone call. If we find you eligible that yes, with all the symptoms you've observed, then quickly we will direct you. For your privacy, again, we will not mention your name, but then you will be given a number or a code. It is this code that you will go through the process with. You will meet kitted men, good enough and protected. You will also not be allowed to be too exposed. So you will also receive some kittens. Besides that, also the Federal Capital Territory Administration made some other provisions for going round now to curb community spread, to begin to take samples randomly, especially in the areas of Mabushi and other, satellite towns. And with this, that is why you are seeing the increased number, especially in the areas that we were able to get 1 or 2 out of it. But we are trying our own possible best, again, by the acts of fumigation, total, every day of the market, we regulate what to do. We fumigate to ensure that the environment is decontaminated. Possible places that might have experienced human traffic are also decontaminated again and again, so that we can curb the spread. And then, if possible, restrict it again to the city center, being the Abuja Municipal Area Council, so that it does not go, to other satellite towns. So far, so good. We've not recorded any in other satellite towns, but within Abuja Municipal Area Council. The only little spread we got now in the area of Mabushi and Lugbe that we are hearing. So far, so good, and we are remaining fervent in prayers that these two shall come to pass.
Okay, because we see people just writing in saying that they like to know, is there a specific time that these palliatives are distributed? Because some of them say they heard that they had come with some materials, I think, Ushaf Buhari area, and then before they knew what was going on, it was shared between 8:30 to 9 p.m., and then they don't know. So could you confirm to us, is there a specific time, is there a center where they go to, and at what time to get some of these palliatives?
Well, what we do generally is in each area council, some wards are bigger than the other. The chairman and all the representatives of those places, we identify. The trucks are loaded. Some wards do have up to about 5 to 6 trucks going in. Some, again, places are difficult terrain. Some are not even motorable. Such ones are also taken into consideration. There are areas that we also made even alternative arrangements of boats to ferry the palliatives across to the poor and vulnerable, especially in the FCT2. Now, in this case peculiarly, there are places that we need smaller cars to be able, or possibly bikes where need be, but then each one not, because they are not manned. And then they go to these wards. So supposing your area happens to be an area that is a bit inside, then definitely the entire security apparatus we engage, their function comes to bear, because in each ward now we are expecting to have 10 men of the Nigerian police force, 10 men of the Nigerian Army, 10 men of the Civil Defense Corps, 10 men of the VIO service, 10 men also of the Federal Road Safety. So with this, they shall all converge, possibly in a nearby police station or where they find safe. We are using containerized vans, trucks in most instances. But we happen to use the open one. So far, what we experience in other area councils, the trucks are being guarded until morning by these people. And since it's a community-based program, we've been seeing ownership of the program by the people to be served. So they protect it jealously. And with this, so far, we've not been seeing anything. They have been protective of these goods to be served. And all of them had their eyes, like the eagles, on these goods to serve their people. But like in the area of Bari Area Council, they all moved in with their trucks also, with each councillor of the ward and each representatives waiting at the other end. Each councillor will board the truck with a police officer or a security person. Then they go to the ward for onward distribution. I want to believe if the difficult terrain places were not reached early, they could also decide to have a place to settle down, because they cannot distribute overnight. We want transparency. Then definitely in the morning they will continue.
I'm afraid we need to go, Honorable Minister. But maybe what we'll do, we'll try and see if we could, of course, revisit this subject matter, because we even have more people asking questions of the FCT. But we do thank you for your time this morning, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you, viewers.
All right, and that's Ramatu Aliyu, Minister of State for the FCT. We will be back and take a look at some of your response in a moment. Stay with us. All right, let's take a look at some messages coming from you all. But the point that Paul Mashote is making here is that Kano State ought to have inundated Nigerians on the causes of the massive and sudden deaths in the state. Well, he wants the president to investigate and inform Nigerians accordingly.
It's a solid statement, no doubt. This normal human being is saying here, good morning. The issue on ground is that the supposed teaching is not meeting up with the average Nigerian child, like Lagos State using only prepaid channel.
Well, next up at Ifama Aze, I believe, says Unity School. Apparently, the education talk has got a lot of people sending in their tweets. It says Unity School virtual class is for 1 hour daily and not engaging. What we have is that what we want is that they drop YouTube videos for children to go through. Is it what you have? Well, that's what this Twitter user says. So, I mean, we need suggestions, so we hope to get them.
This one is from Dr. Olusegun Adesina, who says, which one is verbal autopsy? Nigerian mediocrity will not cease to amaze me. How do we allow pecuniary issues override our sense of judgment? How will you know cause of mass death when you aren't doing autopsy?
Okay. Oh, dear. Well, I already read out this Emmanuel Latin, so I might as well just read this one, which also came up much later. He says that, please, is there any way that we can suggest to the Minister of FCT to appeal to the banks to open for full operations on Monday and Tuesday next week for small business owners like us and civil servants to pay and receive salaries in Abuja to their workers in order to mitigate hunger, increase purchasing power for those at home, and reduce potential job losses. That's someone who is in FCT who was watching and sensed that we should see how we can pass it on to them. So we appreciate your messages, your feedback, your comments. So please do keep them coming, and we'll find a way to get it to those relevant authorities. So thank you all for your messages. We will see you again tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
I'm Karadoki Kyulu.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Please do stay safe.
And I'm Mao Kwe Ogoye, so thank you for watching.